Лейтенант Дегтярев, это тот человек, о котором я вам говорил. Господин Дубровский.
Мне сказали, ваша жена должна скоро родить.
7 октября.
Знаменательный день. Первенец.
Уже 3.
За вашу семью.
За семью.
А как они вам, мой друг, платят за вашу важную работу?
Часто опаздывают. И всегда на них хватает. Нам квартира побольше нужна.
В советские времена была такая присказка. Мы делаем вид, что работаем, а они, что нам платят. Павел, в этом конверте ваша зарплата за 5 лет. Авиабилеты в Венгрию. Она же венгерка, ваша жена, да?
Да.
Венгерские паспорта на новые имена. А визы мы можем достать в любую страну мира, куда вы только с семьей захотите уехать.
А 2 боеголовки?
Только 2.
Только 2. Не видно, что я прямо через проходную?
Ну как? Мы дадим вам почти настоящие документы, чтобы вывести боеголовки на профилактику. Пожалуйста. Павел с одним нашим знакомым приедет на военном грузовике, чтобы отвезти их на профилактику. Все будет как обычно.
Потом ваши клиенты их используют. Погибнут 1000 людей.
Если не у нас, они достанут их где-нибудь еще. А вам нужно позаботиться о вашей семье. Павел. Вот. Купите что-нибудь вашей жене. Поговорим, когда я вернусь. Никому об этом не говорите до нашей следующей встречи. Понятно?
Я вас понял.
Он это сделает?
Какой у него есть выбор? Ему нужны деньги. Он меня видел. Я ему сказал, если не сделает или настучит, мы его уберем.
What's this last item, the Al-Qaeda chatter?
We've seen a spike, sir. Mostly in Eastern Europe and East Africa.
A spike? Are we talking 9/11 level of chatter, Bali, Spain? Give me a reference point.
Nothing like that, sir. But there is more traffic over the past few days.
Anything specific? Watch this. I don't want us sitting on our butts if something's about to happen.
Absolutely, sir.
Anything else I should know?
I'll keep you posted, sir.
خطاب من العميل الروسي بيقول عنده فرصة يشتري صواريخ.
نشوف لو كلامه صحيح. بس مش لازم نتكل عليه لوحده.
pleasant holiday, Professor.
As pleasant as one can have visiting the wife's family.
But the fishing should be good, no?
Have you ever seen the size of a Nile perch?
We'll see you in 3 weeks then, eh?
Uh-huh.
Все, пошли.
Пусто. Я все ладно.
Все чисто. Меняй.
Как учили. Видишь, ничего не изменилось.
Михаил, что здесь происходит?
Ты говорил, убитых не будет.
Ты сказал, здесь будет пусто.
Пошли отсюда. Быстро.
العروسة في الطريق.
الفريق الأوروبي وصل لهم المواد النووية.
كويس. فلتبدأ هيروشيما أمريكا.
За 2 боеголовки.
Только.
Ваши клиенты их используют. погибнут тысячи людей.
Если не у нас, они достанут их где-нибудь еще.
Ничего не пропало.
Мне так кажется.
Тогда приведите все в порядок. Вынесите тела во двор. Я позвоню куда надо. Скажу что-нибудь убедительное.
Excuse me, Mr. President. We have a situation.
I hate it when you say that.
Sir, we have a walk-in with some very disturbing news.
Consular office in St. Petersburg, sir. A man came in on 10 September claiming to have information about a plot to steal nuclear warheads.
That was almost 2 weeks ago.
Our chief of station was out of town. It took some time to debrief and determine this guy was for real.
And is he?
We believe so. Someone is trying to acquire Russian tactical weapons, short-range battlefield
I
warheads.
know what they are.
Our walk-in's cousin is a guard at the Zhukovka storage site. He was approached with an offer he considers serious and substantial. He called his cousin for advice, who told him to say no and go to the police. Our guy, the cousin, doesn't think the guard will sell or talk to anyone official.
Why did the guard call his cousin?
Cousin's a priest.
He was violating a confession.
He doesn't think of it that way.
Well, I have to make a phone call. Let's get every asset we have looking for intel. No turf wars here, guys. I want everyone cooperating.
Mr. President, the deal is we can warn the Russians, but we're not supposed to divulge where we got the information.
The president didn't make that deal.
Mr. President, please excuse the hour of my call.
Charles, are you calling with news I can get even on CNN?
I certainly hope you don't see it on CNN. Dmitri, we have credible information that someone is plotting to steal 2 of your tactical nukes.
Not for the first time. We've always caught them.
As far as we know, you have, Dmitri. But we have a credible source.
But you won't tell me who.
That was the deal.
Okay, let's trade. There was a shootout a week ago at a Soviet-built research reactor in one of our former states. The reactor uses highly enriched uranium, weapons usable material. The official story is that 2 guards were having an affair with the same woman. One guard came to the facility at night, drunk, and with a weapon. They are both dead. Security might be a little lax there, don't you think?
Someone is trying to bribe a guard in Zhukovka. Our information comes from a walk-in who's a cousin of the guard, a priest in St. Petersburg.
That's the best you can do?
Dmitri, how many guards in Zhukovka have cousins who are priests?
Belarus. The reactor is in Sosny, Belarus.
Thank you, my friend. This is a good start, but there's still much to do. As you know, you have dozens of facilities and hundreds of tons of nuclear materials that are not secure. Together, we started trying to lock it down 10 years ago. If we had finished that job, we wouldn't be having this conversation. But we both have layers of bureaucrats who are now fighting over trivial terms.
For some, it is not so trivial. You demand access to our most sensitive nuclear sites. My intelligence people call that spying. I trust you, Charles, but we don't want spies poking around our facilities.
We are not trying to spy, Dmitri, but I have to answer to my Congress, and they demand assurances that taxpayer dollars are going where they're supposed to.
So deal with them. Tell them what is at stake. I'll tell my people as well. It'll take both of us to fix this. Don't worry, Charles. We'll find the arms dealer. But I suggest we both try to find out what is going on in Belarus.
This is the last of it. You now have 50 kilograms of highly enriched uranium.
Enough to finish the bomb.
And it all walked out the door in my briefcase. And no one ever miss it. I keep the books.
John, get the counterterrorism group to the Situation Room. We may have some loose nuclear material to deal with. Well, I think we may have more than just chatter. Have them there in 30 minutes. Paul, why do I have to find out from the Russian president that there was a gunfight at a reactor in Belarus containing material that could be made into a nuclear weapon?
We cannot confirm that, sir.
Well, consider it confirmed.
Good evening, Mr. President.
Nate? Geraldine, how's it going? Yes, I did. Thank you very much. At ease, folks. All right, Bernie, tell everyone what we know.
We have a reliable but unconfirmed report that someone is negotiating to buy one or more Russian tactical nukes. It may already have happened. We also have increased al-Qaeda chatter.
Plus 2 dead guards at a Belarus research reactor filled with weapons-usable material. Whatever the significance of that is. Is the IAEA in there?
The International Atomic Energy Agency might have a difficult time going in on rumors of 2 dead guards. They just finished their last inspection, and they're due back in about 30 days.
Well, if this is serious, we don't have a month to work on that. Now, Bernie, can you and this group of wizards here explain to me just how the hell we got here?
Sir, al-Qaeda has computed all the Muslims killed in the past 50 years. Bosnia, Afghanistan, Somalia, the whole Middle East. Their spokesman has publicly announced that they believe they're owed 4 million lives.
Well, they posted it on their website.
Nukes would be the fastest way to vengeance. The only way to stop them from exploding a nuclear bomb is to keep the components out of their hands. No nuclear materials, no nuclear weapons, no nuclear terrorism.
If they have a warhead, we probably can't find it.
Or if they have plutonium or highly enriched uranium, they could find someone who can make them a bomb.
We've been finding bomb diagrams in Al-Qaeda camps ever since Afghanistan.
The U.S., Russia, and every other member of the G8 pledged $20 billion to help secure the weapons, the HEU, and the plutonium.
Then why can't we keep Al-Qaeda from going nuclear?
Well, I said pledge, sir. Reality is, we've not collected much cash or made much progress yet.
How much of this stuff is in Russia, Nick?
Enough to make 60 to 80,000 bombs, sir.
How much is secure?
Less than half. There's still at least 300 metric tons at risk.
And how long until you're done?
Our goal is to get it done in 4 years.
At the present rate, it'll take at least 13 years.
Come on, Nick. That rate will all be dead before you finish.
It's complicated, sir. For example, both we and the Russians agreed that they needed fencing and nuclear sensors, which they can't afford. So we bought them. But then they can't pay to install them.
Well, we can.
We tried, but our lawyers say we need to be on every site to inspect the work to make sure it's done right.
And the Russians think we just want to spy. I mean, I heard that from Dmitri an hour ago.
We fight over travel visas, contracting rules, who pays if a worker gets hurt, who's liable in case of an accident.
Well, everyone here is going to be liable if an American city blows up. Nuclear terrorism is the most dangerous threat facing the world, and we're fighting over accounting rules and tax bills.
The terrorists are racing, and we're crawling.
All right, who in this group is responsible for nuclear terrorism? And who's in charge? Well, I guess old Harry Truman was right.
المعملين شغالين دلوقتي.
والله كويس. الاثنين أحسن من واحد.
إن شاء الله الاثنين حينجحوا.
دلوقتي عندنا البضاعة ما حديش يقدر يوقفنا. وقريب حيجي لنا صواريخ صناعة روسي.
أفيون، صواريخ، كله زي بعضه عند المجرمين. مش لازم نتكل على الراجل ما عندوش مبادئ.
مبدأه هو الفلوس. يمكن لسه ينفعنا.
وإذا كانش هو ينفع في غيره.
В Жуковке все в порядке. Число сходится. Оснований считать, что он взял деньги, нет. Мы допросили его. С пристрастием. Нам удалось выяснить имя покупателя. Мы продолжаем за ним следить. Задерживать Дегтярева оснований нет. Он может стать наживкой для покупателя.
What do you have? Yes, put him on.
Good evening, Charles.
Good morning, Dmitri.
Zhukovka is secure.
Are you sure?
About Zhukovka, we don't have the buyer yet, but we have a name.
Well, that's good, Dmitri, but tell me, how many more dozen sites do you have to check now?
That would be a state secret, Charles.
Fair enough. But we both should keep looking. And we should pressure these other countries to help us find these guys. And then get all of these materials locked down immediately.
I don't think we've seen the end of this. Heads are rolling in Russia today. You need to, what is it you say, kick some ass with people in your government and a few others.
The Russians are convinced Zhukovka is secure. What do you have?
We did some encryption work on the Al-Qaeda chatter overnight, sir. There were 3 mentions of an anniversary celebration.
Anniversary celebration?
Code, sir. Our guess is candles, gunfire, fireworks.
The anniversary of our bombing Afghanistan is coming up.
So, they've got the weapons.
My guess is they have them or think they're about to get them, sir.
Mr. President, wheels up time.
I've got a damn dedication waiting. Get the counterterrorism security group together. Come up with some recommendations.
Assuming we're still alive in here, we have an election to win. Let's get moving, folks. Mr. President, are you on the line?
I am.
We have serious chatter. Until we know better, we're assuming that our Russian nuke buyer has scored. Now, Zhukovka seems secure, but that still leaves a lot of inventory out there for a shopping spree.
John, Rush is just part of the problem. The tactical nukes we're worried about may come from Russia. But there's weapons-usable nuclear material in over 40 countries, including some in research facilities in places like Ghana, Syria, South Africa, Canada, Japan, not to mention here at home. In 2002, we identified 25 priority sites to work with the Russians on.
How many left?
Well, we secured or removed material from a handful, but there's lots more needing attention.
Yeah, as in 20 or more.
Nate?
Sir?
How do we keep one of these devices out of the country once they've left the source?
Every year, 6 million cargo containers come into this country by ship. Now, we have radiation detectors in several ports, but we're not in all of them. If we close those ports, the economy will stop dead.
If a bomb goes off, it'll be a very dead stop.
We'll do the best we can, sir, but these weapons are easily shielded. A thin sheet of lead will do.
Well, why don't we just shut down the borders? Just stop every SUV, truck, and van that comes to a crossing.
Sure, we can try, but this is a free country. Open borders, lots of little roads, miles of open coastline.
They wrap it in a bale of marijuana, they can push it right on through.
We can put special teams in several key cities with radiation detectors, New York, LA, DC, but we can't be everywhere. These weapons, they do not emit a lot of radiation. You have to be right on top of one to register it.
John, pick up, please.
So you're telling us that we virtually have no way to stop a bomb from coming into this country?
We're looking for a needle in a haystack?
We will do the best that we can. I can't guarantee my people will find it before it goes off.
Sure as hell would have been a lot easier to lock it up a long time ago.
Yes, Mr. President. President will be back from California late tonight. He wants continuity of government starting now. Bernie, please get the Vice President and the entire team out of town.
COG is in effect.
You know the drill,
Right
folks.
now. Go.
Bernie is your primary point of contact. And please, folks, tell no one about this until we're sure what's going on. Not even your family. Let's get moving. Geraldine, Nathan, the president wants to know if we can raise the threat level. Unconfirmed general reports or something like that. We don't want a nation in panic while we search for these weapons.
We can do that.
I'm sorry, but the president needs you both here. Can you send your deputies to the secure sites?
I'll be here.
You couldn't make me leave.
Thank you.
Tonight, they will drive you to a private plane and give you your money. As for me, I have a date with a boat in Mexico.
Try to enjoy yourself. I'm sure I'll hear all about it when you get to your destination.
It will be noted.
ثلاث قنابل في الطريق وفي ميعادهم.
والمفروض يوصلوا في نفس تاريخ هجوم أمريكا وبريطانيا علينا في أفغانستان.
يا سعيدة يا أمريكا وإنجلترا. لكن لا شيء من العميل الروسي.
بس المشوار طويل من روسيا لهنا.
All right, gentlemen, give it up.
Sir, this is getting more complicated. The Russians busted a major drug dealer a couple of days ago. A guy who has been running an Afghan opium smuggling ring. He may be into more than drugs, sir. There was blood in the trunk of his car. Matches a lieutenant who headed a security team at the Zhukovka storage site.
Our guy?
We went to the cousin with the name, he confirmed. Also confirmed the soldier's been missing for the last 2 days.
But no missing warhead.
Not from Zhukovka, anyway.
But there's more.
The Russians got the dealer to give up a name, and we compared databases and followed the trail to a warehouse in Poland.
The Poles search it? What'd they find?
Machine tools with HEU residue, drums with nitric acid, and a schematic for a simple but effective nuclear weapon, sir.
So while we were chasing tactical nukes, they were manufacturing bombs in...
Poznan, Poland, actually.
And the bombs are...
Gone, sir.
So Al-Qaeda's a nuclear power?
Hell, sir, the weapons could be anywhere. Europe, Mexico, the Caribbean, London, Paris. All depends on the target.
Could wind up on a fishing trawler, a yacht.
Sail right up the Potomac into the tidal basin.
No, we're the primary target. But if one of these goes off anywhere, military forces all over the world are going to be paranoid and jumpy. If something goes off in Moscow, the broken down Russian warning system might think we attacked it. I don't know why the hell we still keep these nuclear weapons on hair-trigger alert. Get me some options, folks.
I'm here for the Polish general. The statue, it's part of the cultural exchange program. It arrived from Europe this morning.
From what we've seen, it appears to be a simple gun-type bomb, like the one used in Hiroshima. There are lots of people in the world with the skills to build it, and almost anyone can detonate it. The uranium seems to be enriched to 90%. Hiroshima was 80%. That suggests it came from a high-quality source.
Sounds like the site of a recent gun battle.
And how could it be transported?
Small plane, Citation, Lear, even a Cessna 210 with frequent fuel stops. Could also be a commercial cargo ship or plane. Once it's in the country, it could be driven to the target in an SUV.
So how's it triggered?
Small gunpowder charge triggered by, say, a simple remote device. It slams this nuclear material into this nuclear material, and the chain reaction begins.
So, what kind of damage we talking about here?
Pick a city. Washington, New York, Chicago. Red is vaporized. Orange is almost completely destroyed. The gray fallout areas would depend on weather conditions. With a good bomb maker, they could get a yield of 20 million pounds of TNT, maybe more. Here's the worst-case scenario. We could expect major structural damage outside a radius of 1 mile, with up to 50% of the population dead or severely injured. Roughly equivalent to the Hiroshima bomb that killed 70,000. Depending on weather patterns, fallout would give tens of thousands more radiation sickness in a matter of days. Many would die in the months to follow.
Nathan, how do we deal with the casualties?
In this scenario, hospitals, fire, and police in the immediate vicinity would be decimated. We'll have to bring first responders in from nearby cities, and that could take a while.
So we have thousands of injured and dying and nobody to help them?
Hospitals that survived the blast would be overwhelmed with burn and radiation victims. We would have to mobilize hospitals and health personnel from around the country. We would need to mobilize the military. They would also be needed to provide security. We'd be stretched. Very, very thin.
How long before we could restore basic services? Food, water, electricity?
Unknown. Electricity, water, gas outside the immediate blast area could take days, perhaps weeks to repair. That's assuming that we could get workers to go inside of radioactive fallout areas. Long-term contamination of water, food supplies, shelter. Those would all be problems. We would be facing widespread panic, mass evacuations, tens of thousands of refugees.
Meanwhile, America's economy tanks, taking the rest of the world's markets with it.
It's a sensational piece of work. It'll make a real impression in New York.
I may have to make an announcement soon. Bernie, get started on a draft. Geraldine, we need to speak to the French, the Brits, the Japanese, and maybe the entire G8. We'll divide it up. I'll call Dmitri. He knows damn near everything we know. Paul, I want you to work with the Poles and the Russians and see if we can't get better intel on whoever was in that warehouse. Most importantly, I want an open line to make sure the Russian military, or ours, doesn't overreact in case something happens. We can't let these bastards start World War III. Now get started now.
You'll get the other half of the money when we are safely inside Chesapeake Bay. Machine tools pays even better than drugs.
Both Canadian citizens?
We are.
Dmitri, sorry to interrupt your sleep again.
I have not been sleeping, Charles.
Dmitri, it's pretty clear that they've made one or more nuclear bombs, and we don't know where they are or where they're headed.
My intelligence people think too. were made in Poland.
There could be more. Al-Qaeda never relies on a single cell.
They're on loan for the cultural exhibit. We'll be there in 2 days.
Now, I know that we're a target, but you could be as well. And we both know that if a bomb goes off, regardless of the source, our military forces will go to DEFCON 2.
We'd have the same response.
No criticism intended, but your early warning system is eroded and could mistakenly think they're seeing an American missile headed toward Russia. One false move could be catastrophic. That might be part of the terrorist plan.
You and I must be in immediate contact at all times. We don't want our nuclear command system or yours launching missiles at each other.
Thank you, Dmitri. Let's keep an open line. I don't know how many there are, where they are, or what I can do to stop them.
Sir, the horses are out of the barn.
Because we blew our chance to close the door.
The film you have just seen is fiction, but it is based on facts, important, disturbing facts that make the control of weapons, usable nuclear material, one of the most important issues facing the world today. To get at those facts, we have brought together the two men who created the legislation we all hope will make the world a safer place. Former U.S. Senator Sam Nunn of Georgia, a Democrat, and Senator Richard Lugar of Indiana, a Republican. They'll help us explore the facts behind the film. Senator, what we just saw represented a chilling scenario. But how realistic was it?
It could happen, it's possible, but it's not inevitable. There are things we can do to prevent it. There are things that are already taking place that have been worked on for the last 10 or 12 years, so there's a lot of hope here. There's a lot of good news, but it is a scenario that could unfold unless we accelerate those efforts and unless we greatly improve the cooperation that we have to have around the world, starting with the U.S. and Russia. The way I view it, Tom, we're in a race between catastrophe and cooperation must win.
What do we know, really, about the efforts of terrorist organizations to develop or to acquire nuclear weapons or nuclear weapons technology?
Well, intelligence reports indicate that they talk about it, chatter about it all the time. Now, their ability to do this, their effectiveness, obviously, is in question, but it's something that we are concerned about. Our intelligence operations have to see this as the essential problem, the same way the presidential candidates did. This is the ballgame. If in fact people who are not nation states, who are not even tribes, who have no return address, deterrence doesn't work, but they deliberately, for some theological reason, decide they want to die and they want to take a lot of people with them, that's a new situation, and this material provides that ability for them to do so in massive ways.
Senator, how easy is it to make a bomb, a crude device of some kind, like the one that we saw in the film?
It's not a piece of cake, but if they get the material, they can find a way to develop the weapon. Because there are physicists around the globe, there are lots of people who know how to make these materials. There are turn materials into weapons. There are also instructions on the internet about how you make a nuclear weapon. So it's public information. Now, could a 10th grade student or some ordinary person make a nuclear weapon? No, it would take some real expertise. But the real long pole in the tent for the terrorists, their hardest job is getting the materials themselves. If they get the materials, if they get the nuclear materials, they can find a way to make the weapons. Our easiest job is to protect the nuclear materials at the source. And that's one of the main points of this film, is that once the materials leave the source, then it's out of the barn. And our last best chance is really to get those materials secured wherever they are around the globe. That's the easiest job for us to do, and if there's no nuclear materials, there will be no nuclear bomb, there will be no nuclear terrorism.
But in the interim, we do have to worry about that possible threat to this country.
Oh, we've got a long way to go. We do have to worry, and is it probable? Is it a probability, better than a 50-50 chance that this is going to happen? No. But the consequences are so devastating that we have to plug the consequences in also with a likelihood. And the consequences would not only be a human disaster, but it also would shake the economic confidence of the world to the point that our economic system and the well-being of millions and millions, hundreds of millions of people around the globe would be in jeopardy.
Senator, in the last presidential debate, both candidates said that the spread of nuclear weapons and the material used to make nuclear weapons, they thought was the #1 concern that they both had in the world. So why isn't there a greater sense of urgency about all this?
Well, I think both the candidates had a sense of urgency, but the realities are that the rest of the world needs to have that feeling too. Recently, when President Putin visited with President Bush, this issue was finally elevated once again to the highest level.
Senator, should the United States be doing something about reducing its own nuclear arsenal? John Deutsch, who was in the Defense Department and then was the director of the CIA, has written quite persuasively recently that the United States needs to build down its nuclear arsenal as a statement to the world. Is that politically possible?
That's certainly arguable, and is argued all the time, as I understand, at the Pentagon. I think there is a sense of prudence in terms of our own national defense to sort of keep track how the scoreboard is going. Now, in my office, we've got a scoreboard that says about 6,300 warheads have been separated from missiles in the former Soviet Union. That's about half. We have treaties, we have programs that are going to take that down to 2,000, maybe 1,500. At that point, things get more interesting.
Warren Buffett, who pays attention to these kinds of things, he's in the insurance business, among other things, thinks, in fact, a nuclear device of some kind will be exploded in our lifetime.
He's right that there is the possibility and maybe even probability. On the other hand, at this point in history, this is, as Sam Nunn said, is a definable problem. We can make an inventory right now of which countries have something. We can make an inventory of where it is. Now, the question is, do we have the political will and the appropriations of the money, either private or public, to work the problem? Even with governments that are uncooperative, we could argue with them, lock it up so that people, terrorists in your own country, do not do you in. You know, you may be an authoritarian leader, and we may want a democracy there, but we may even say to the authoritarian type, it's in your interest to lock this stuff up and to make certain it doesn't get out. Now, that we can do, and the urgency to do that is imperative.
Would it be helpful if President Bush and President Putin went beyond their bilateral relationship on this issue and, in effect, summoned global leaders to a worldwide summit on the idea of nuclear proliferation and what we have to do, and met in Iceland or some neutral country of some kind and said, we're not going to leave here for the next week until the world is aware of what we're facing here and what is required of all of us individually and collectively to deal with this?
I think that would be a terrific move, and it would focus the attention of the world on this subject. Tom, let me come back to one point that I think is important. The United States and Russia have to lead this whole quest for making the world safer from nuclear terrorism. But to do that, the United States and Russia have to establish some degree of credibility on the nuclear equation itself. We still have, we being the United States and Russia, 14 years after the end of the Cold War, where we're trying to cooperate around the globe, where we have all sorts of mutual interests and stakes, like terrorism, like the threat of nuclear materials, like the battlefield nuclear weapons that aren't secured. We have all sorts of mutual interests now. But while we have that, we have the Non-Proliferation Treaty, which has helped deter nuclear powers, people becoming nuclear powers for the last 30 years. It's in grave jeopardy because people, for many reasons, but one of them is because they don't see the United States and Russia doing much on our own nuclear arsenal. And our own country is talking about new weapons. We've tested more than anyone else, but we're talking about new weapons. The Russians are relying more on nuclear weapons now than they did during the Cold War because of their conventional weaknesses. The Russians have a warning system that's deteriorating. There's more chance of an accident now, a mistaken belief that they're under attack, that the Russians are under attack, than there was during the Cold War. We could take all the Moscow Treaty weapons off alert tomorrow morning. We're going to get rid of these weapons anyway. It's already scheduled by 2012. Take them off alert. This kind of posture, nuclear posture on both sides, is much more of a danger than a deterrent. And when you look at the deteriorated warning systems, the radar systems, the satellite systems in Russia, you have to say, we have a stake. We, the United States, our survival may depend on those warning systems and whether they work properly or whether they make a mistake. This is an absurd posture for the United States and Russia and for our citizens, and it also erodes the kind of credibility we need in the world to get others to join us to put pressure on powers like Iran and North Korea.
Senator, in the meantime, the film that we just saw had a scenario in which a crude bomb was assembled. It was smuggled, in effect, into Canada. And then there was that bucolic scene when it was driven across the border into this country. How much are you concerned about the continuing porous nature of our borders and the ability of people to come into ports, for example, with container ships, or to find a not a very heavily trafficked crossing point somewhere from Canada into the United States?
I think every American is very concerned about this, and this is why the federal government is trying to rearrange the whole Homeland Defense apparatus. Difficult thing to do, 18 agencies and some coordination. It sort of all started at 9/11, and I saw, at least behind closed doors, people in various departments of our government still almost at war with each other, wanting to compartmentalize what they did. Didn't want compatibility of computers and intelligence, and everybody had his own thing to do. We're diminishing this, but we haven't quite got there yet. And this is why whoever is handling Homeland Defense, and sort of starting with the President, has got a full-time job.
Senator, in the film we saw the American customs officer running a wand over the top of the box that contained the bomb. It appeared to be a radiation detection device of some kind, but he got no signal back. Is it easy to disguise something that has that much radiation within it?
It's certainly possible if you put lead around the weapon itself. There's not a lot of radiation emitting from a nuclear weapon, so there are certainly ways to get a bomb by the radiation detection. What I think the film, the underlying theme of this film denotes is that we need several tiers of defense. The fundamental tier is stopping the material from leaving its source, securing it, and eventually getting rid of it wherever it is, anywhere in the world. That's the number one defense, because if there's no material, there's going to be no weapon. But every step you get away from the source is that much more difficult to guard. Once it leaves the source, we have to be lucky to get it.
The two of you have spent effectively your entire lives in public service, and you're well known for your expertise in foreign relations and national security matters. This is obviously something that is vitally important to you at this stage of your lives. What do the American people, and especially leaders in other arenas in America, in the economy, for example, in academia, in the media, need to know about what they can do on this issue that is so critically important?
I think an awareness of the issue is key, because I think if the American people are aware of it, they will support people like Senator Lugar, who are still in the arena, making efforts every day to get the funding, to get rid of the obstacles. I think an awareness in this country is the key to public support to get our government to make this a front burner issue.
Senator, what would you like to recommend to the American people to heighten their awareness of it and to make them, if you will, active players in what effectively is a crusade on your part?
Well, those of us who are interested in this have to be more articulate and really perhaps offer programs that everybody can understand. This is not inside baseball. This is sort of an existential question for our country. I think beyond that, the fact is that most people abroad do understand this in a way, and they are heartened by the fact that there is leadership, not only here, but elsewhere. But ultimately, these things require money. They require political understanding. We're talking about President Bush and President Putin and others. This means human beings making decisions, gut reactions in terms of their own security as well as their countries. And so as a result, we have to be more active in trying to help these people, these players in the drama, to understand what these issues are. They have other things on their minds, although we think this is the most important one. I would just finally say that we really have to expand in the private sector an interest in this.
We are trying to help from outside the government with our nuclear threat initiative. And what we're trying to do is fill in gaps, and we're trying to be a catalyst for governmental action. The heavy lifting has to be done by governments. So there's an enormous security role out here for the private sector. And I think that the more people know about it, the more they're going to be willing to step up to the plate. But Tom, there are a lot of parables of hope, and let me just mention a few of them before we close. First of all, we had 4 nuclear powers after the breakup of the Soviet Union. We now have only 1. 3 countries, Belarus, Ukraine, and Kazakhstan, got rid of their nuclear weapons. Second, we've secured between 40 and 50% of the weapon material in the former Soviet Union, and that's enormously important. Third, we've got the G8 that has stepped up to the plate with pledges, not yet with action, in terms of matching the United States. Fourth, we've got a global threat initiative. We call it in NTI the global cleanout, where we've agreed with Russia to begin getting this HEU, highly enriched uranium, back from these reactors all over the globe. So we've had a lot of cooperation here. We just have to have a lot more. And I think we are in a race between cooperation and catastrophe, but I believe that cooperation can win out.
Let me offer just one thought of optimism, and that is that the Nunn-Lugar thing occurred at a time when we had potential catastrophe, because Sam Nunn brought some Democrats to breakfast and I brought some Republicans. It didn't occur because the President of the United States and the Soviet Union were meeting or anybody else. It came from democracy in this country, where there are people of goodwill and there is a democracy that functions like our own in a bipartisan way. Sometimes great things happen.
Senators, thank you very much, and may in fact be our last best chance.
Thank you, Tom.